Hello and welcome to Women of the White Buffalo 10-Minute Native News. Tate dopa na jiwia imachia piksto naha yuha chante washte na pe chuza piksto. Thank you and welcome. Thank you for supporting us through our journey to soon premiere the film Women of the White Buffalo. If you have not seen the trailer to our film, please click on over to our website, womenofthewhitebuffalo.com, where you can see a few of our stories and the documentary trailer. So thank you for joining us. Today I have a few stories for you that'll make you mad, might make you think, and then might make you proud. So first, I'd like to talk about the Indian Child Welfare Act, ICWA, ICWA. Some people refer to it as the ICWA. I know in Indian country we refer to it as ICWA. The Indian Child Welfare Law passed in 1978, the same year as the Indian Religious Freedom Act was passed, so we can be free to pray in our own indigenous ways. Now, the ICWA law was federal law to prevent the separation of indigenous families, especially indigenous children being taken away from the parents, put into boarding schools, put into the foster care system to further the assimilation of indigenous people by taking away their culture. And that's where, with residential schools and Indian boarding schools, it's Carlisle who coined the term Save the Indian. Oh, I say that wrong. Who coined the term Kill the Indian and Save the Man. Now, federal law, this federal law that governs the removal and out-of-home placement of American Indian children enables tribes and families to be involved in the child welfare cases, giving adoption preferences to Native American Indian foster families and to families of that child who's being removed from the family. If a child's being removed, a lot of the statistics say that the highest removal that the state comes in to remove the kids for is for malnutrition. And that's their number one reason the state comes in to these Indian families to take away the child. Now, you can't do that because that child then loses its culture, loses their culture into assimilation. So this law has been enacted for the past 40 years, keeping Indian families together, keeping children, instead of them being adopted out, the tribe and foster care agencies are supposed to, and this is the policy, so this is what they do. The policy, they'll reach out to family members of that child, and if any family members step up and would like to adopt that child, then the children stay in the family. Also, they stay in the tribe. So if the tribe intervenes and wants the family to, if the tribe intervenes and wants the child to stay with the family, they'll adopt them into another tribal member. And if another tribal member is not found, then another Native American family is found. So that gives the child 3 options, 3 circles of defense to stay in with the culture. Now, there are some children who do get lost in the system, and we call those our lost birds. They may be adopted out at a very young age into non-Native families who are not obligated to teach or expose that child to Native American culture. And so this is a way of keeping the culture together. So in Texas, just recently, the state of Texas, on behalf of Chad and Jennifer Breckeen, have petitioned the high court to repeal the law. Okay? So there is a non-native white couple in Texas who teamed up with Texas to break this law that has been keeping our families together for 40 years. So they petitioned the High Court to repeal the law, claiming it was unconstitutional. Texas maintained that ICWA is a race-based system that creates a child custody regime for Indian children, defined by a child's genetics and ancestry. And it is designed to make the adoption of an Indian child by non-Indians more difficult. So that is their stance. They would like to see the law removed because it makes it difficult for white, non-native foster parents to adopt native foster parents. But that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to make it difficult. It's supposed to keep the family together. So meanwhile, I'll show you this graph of statistics. So this couple, they are upset because they could not adopt a Navajo boy. When they started the adoption process for that Navajo boy, the tribe stepped in and found Native American foster parents to place him with. Now that family, Jennifer, Brackeen, and Chad, they should have been happy with that. They should have been happy and glad for that child. Instead, they made it a point to get angry and mad. Not necessarily that, but they sued. They are suing the United States government to repeal this act that actually protects our children. They're suing it just because they themselves could not adopt that Navajo child. So meanwhile, they are fighting so hard to adopt Native kids. Meanwhile, look at this graph now. This top bar, this is the number of children in foster care in the United States in 2019 based on race and ethnicity. So that big bar right there is white children in the foster care system. They are the top ethnicity in the foster care system that need to be adopted. That is 185,825 children, white children in the foster care system that don't have a foster family. Then the next statistic is Black or African American children. That's 97,000 kids in the system. And then Hispanic, also next to Hispanic, it says of any race. So we'll see. But Hispanic race is 87,000. So just below the Black children are the Hispanic children. And then you get 2 or more races that are listed. So that's 10,000 children who are 10,000 children who are 2 or more races that are in the foster care system right now. Then you go down a little bit further and it says, oh wait, I messed up. No, I didn't. You go down further and that's where American Indians are listed. We are the 4th statistic of the population that is in the foster care system. So whites first, Black second, Hispanic, then Native American, with 10,152 listed in 2019 for the children that are in the foster care system. So there is far more children. So I just want to point that out. This couple in the state of Texas is saying this is unconstitutional for non-native people to adopt Indian children. Meanwhile, you have all these thousands of children that need to be adopted. So I just want to state some facts there. Meanwhile, the next one would be unable to determine this one, and that's 6,000 children unable to determine their race and ethnicity that are lost in the system, followed by Asians, and then lastly is Native Hawaiians, which is 1,000, which we could just add that straight up to Native American. So that's 11,000 Native American in the system compared to 185,000 white kids in the system. So there's some disparity there. I don't feel like this couple should be raising this banner when there are far too many other kids of race and ethnicity that need foster parents. Okay, so let us Indians try to come together and keep our culture and keep our children compacted, because what happens is a lot of generational trauma. So this couple may think that they're doing a good thing. I have a quote that I read that they fostering a child. This is a quote from them, Jennifer Brackeen and Chad Brackeen. This is a quote from them. It says, fostering a child would help rectify their blessings. So there we go. That's why they want to foster a child. But it has to be an Indian child. Anyways, I'll let you get more into that and research about them. Texas noted in its petition that 8 of the Fifth Circuit judges demonstrated that clarification was needed about the limits on Congress's authority to legislate with respect to Indians. So basically, Texas wants the Fifth Circuit judges to prove they have jurisdiction over Indian people. And it's just not going to work. It's not going to work out. It's not. But that is in the news. That is Texas coming after our kids, okay? Texas repealing the ICWA law, which does way more bringing the culture back. I have another quote. So the tribes that are in opposition of this so far, who have come together to stand up and petition the Supreme Court as well to keep ICWA law, are the Morongo Band of Mission Indians, the Cherokee Nation, Chalagi, the Oneida Nation, and the Quinault Indian Nation in Washington. And here is some words from those tribes. Our tribes continue to fight for ICWA because it ensures the best outcomes for Indian children by keeping their connection to their families and their tribal communities. We can never go back to the dark times when Indian children were removed from their homes or stripped of their heritage. For more than 40 years, the Indian Child Welfare Act has helped reverse the tide of one of the most enduring historical attacks on Native people. The forcible removal of American Indian children from their homes, cultures, and communities. And lastly, those who seek to remove Native children from their homes and tribal communities should not be enabled to return to the harmful or tragic practices of the past. So put that in your prayers. Let Texas kind of step down on this. We need them to step down on this. And let's pray that those judges know what they're doing. They have a lot of our lives, our children's lives in their hands right now to either keep the law or repeal it. So I pray they keep the law. And I hope we can do what we can do. Maybe petition, write a letter. And secondly, my next story is about some fashion. So this is Sky Eagle Collection, which was just premiered at the First Americans Museum. The First Americans Museum had a grand opening this past week in Oklahoma. It's a huge museum dedicated to over 40 tribes that have ties to Oklahoma. This is a gold dress with some stars on it. You know, Indian people are Star Nation. And here is the beautiful museum in the background with some arches. First American Museum, also called FAM. I want to check out this little website that they have up. One place, many nations. In one place, visitors experience the collective histories of 39 distinct First American nations in Oklahoma today. They have a map showing where all the nations come from. So I'm excited to see this. Be awesome to go check it out. It's located in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, at the crossroads of America. Their mission is to serve a dynamic center promoting awareness and educating the border public about the unique cultures, diversity, history, contributions, and resilience of First American nations in Oklahoma today. So that was pretty awesome. And we finally have a museum, or the Oklahoma Indians have a museum. Maybe we can get a big museum here in the northern states. Maybe I can curate one, but I'm very excited for them. So, this other story, you may have heard it, Gabby Petite. Now, Gabby went missing in Wyoming, in the same area that 710 indigenous people went missing. And did you hear about them? I sure didn't hear about them. But one white woman goes missing and the whole world knows. So I think this picture really sums it up. She said, her sign says she is missing. And there's all these microphones letting her voice be amplified and heard. And there's this indigenous woman who has been standing there and nobody's been giving her a microphone. She has the red handprint on her face to represent that silence, that loss of voice. And her sign also says she is missing with her ribbon skirt. CBS talked about it 3 hours ago. So just short, this story just dropped. So let's see what they have to say.
2-year-old Gabby Petito's homicide in Wyoming has captured national attention, and she is one of many who've gone missing in the state recently. At least 710 indigenous people, mostly women and girls, went missing in the state between 2011 and 2020, and a vast majority of those are children. For more on those disappearances, I want to bring in Kelsey Vlamis. She is a breaking news reporter at Insider. Kelsey, welcome. So, Wyoming founded a missing and murdered indigenous peoples task force. What was the reason for that?
Hi, Elaine. Thanks for having me. So the task force was founded in 2019, partially as a result from pressure from advocates who had said for a long time that this was an issue that was being under-resourced and not addressed. And so the governor founded the task force, and as a result of that task force, this report was put out in January.
Moving on. 2 little quick things. October 9th, there will be a fashion show in Boulder, Colorado. I'm going to pull up the flyer right here. So this is Red Berry Woman and Akonav. I know Akonav. He's Navajo and Acoma. And together he's Akonav. And his designs are very southwestern with that Pueblo flair. They're very beautiful. A lot of bold black and white colors. And then Red Berry Woman, she's from North Dakota. And her collection just dropped last week and is awesome. I bought a few pieces. Support indigenous art. They both have websites where you can follow and you can get some indigenous art yourself to wear, wearable art. She makes some handmade pieces. He makes some handmade pieces. And then they also have their screen printed ready to wear collection. So if you are in Boulder, Colorado, check them out. And lastly, on the 25th, Jamie Okuma is going to have a collection release. And I love Jamie Okuma's pieces. I just want to scroll through and show you a little bit of her work. She's got this bomber jacket coming up. One of my favorite pieces that I would love to have some Jamie Okuma money is right here. Man, this set right here. September 25th. Her collection is coming out. And one of my favorite designers. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for all your support through Women of the White Buffalo page. And I love you. And take care in the world. And support your indigenous folks. Ask questions about the Indians. What's the Indians doing? What's the tribes doing? How are we as American citizens upholding the treaty? Etc., etc. And I'll see you next week. Thank you. Doksha.